Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Caroline Stewart, and I work in the marketing team at Crate.io. This afternoon, Nina is going to be taking us through this presentation, which is 6 things to know when buying a house for your data. And just before I pass over to Nina, I'm going to go through a few housekeeping items. We're recording this session, so we will send out the recording within the next couple of days, so you're able to access that and send it on to any of your colleagues if they'd like to see it. If you have any problems with the sound throughout the presentation, or you're having problems viewing the screen, please just let me know in the chat and we will try and resolve that for you. And finally, just if you have any questions that you would like to pose, you can ask these through the presentation, just in the questions box on the screen, and we will be taking them at the end of the presentation. With that, I'd like to hand over to Nina. Thank you.
Thanks for the intro, and welcome everyone to today's webinar on 6 things to know when buying a house for your data. My name is Nina. I'm responsible for developer relations at Crate, and I'm currently researching what's sort of in the tech space. I'm writing some articles, and I'm also really excited about all things IoT and AI, and I'm amazed by all the opportunities that they open up. And that's sort of a topic that's going to be with us today throughout this webinar as well. But first, I'd like to start with like a little fun fact. And basically, we people make roughly 35,000 decisions each day. So they're remotely conscious. Sometimes we really know what we're deciding on, but sometimes it also just happens in a really automated mode. And it's sometimes also really hard to make the choice. So just like after work, like after a workout, when you do 3 sets of pull-ups, your muscles get really exhausted. And the same applies to your mental abilities, also to decision making. So decision fatigue is really a thing, and decision fatigue basically refers to the idea that your decisions are negatively impacted over time and your ability to make smart choices is sort of reduced. So in today's webinar, I'd like to walk you through some considerations on how to make smart, informed choices when it comes especially to buying a house for your data. So with this, I'd like to get started on basically answering the questions and giving you some ideas and starting points on how to find the ideal accommodation for your data. So let me paint a picture for you. So we all need a home base to rest, to organize ourselves, sort of a place where our day starts and usually ends, a home. And you probably guessed it, what I'm going to say next, but the same applies to our data, that we need to put our data somewhere and have that as a starting point to take things further. And like I said before, this webinar should give you some considerations, some starting points to start thinking about how you choose the house for your data. I will first start with a future-oriented consideration, basically to find out how your database is going to behave in the future, what you should consider in that one. We'll also talk about some timing-related stuff. We will think of sort of the first visit, the first viewing of your house and how that translates into database terms. We will discuss protection for your data, what's sort of necessary to think of. And lastly, we will talk about furnishing and moving in with into your house, but also into the database. So point number 1. So how can you see a shared future with your accommodation, basically? So the potential of the data to transform an industry has seen the explosion of sensors and devices installed, and all of those are collecting data. So I'm really excited for what the future holds in that space. But at the moment, sort of this whole Industry 4.0 thing is one of these buzzwords. But along with this, there's also a lot of new ideas, a lot of new use cases. We have smart factories. We're not entirely sure that it's going to develop in the future. There's probably going to be a lot more sensors. There's already millions and millions of data available at the moment that's continuously being collected. And that comes along with many opportunities and many challenges. So there's different solutions, there's different data, there's different use cases available right now, but it's also going to change in the future. So basically the only thing that's constant is change. So if you think in terms of housing, as a student, you might be happy in your shabby shared student apartment in a party district. As a young professional, you might want to live in more of a lofty studio in that semi-urban, multi-culti neighborhood with all the hipster bike repair cafes. And at one point, you're better off in a three-bedroom family home. So, like I said, it's all changing. There's always different needs. And if we put that into database terms, the first major consideration refers to flexibility. So having a database that allows you to have a flexible, scalable structure makes sure you meet today's requirements, but it's also giving you the option that it will stick with you in the future. So because the future is always uncertain and we cannot change that, the best strategy is to build a foundation that's evolving with you and your needs and allows you to tap into new opportunities that helps you to leverage the data that's available to you now, but also available to you in the future. So for that, basically this means to consider a product that allows you to respond flexibly. And specifically, this means it's important to consider the ease of scalability of your database. Also, this includes things like, for example, how easy it is to rebalance data in case it's a big change in the amount of data that's ingested. Is that done automatically? Do you need experts to deal with that? Another consideration is to check what options there are to deploy. For example, can you run it as a container on Docker or Kubernetes? Are there other opportunities? But also, what options do you have in terms of sharding and clustering your database according to your needs? And also, is the data automatically redistributed in a smart way, or do you again need some experts to help you deal with that? So in essence, consider the flexibility and also how your database is going to meet your needs right now, but also how easy it is that your database adapts to the challenges and the changing needs in the future. And we're moving on to the second consideration. Basically, how can your house, your database keep up with you? So you wouldn't want to sleep on the floor in your house, you wouldn't barbecue in the living room, and you probably do not want to host your friends in the basement. So in a house, you need to make sure that it ensures the functionality and that it helps you to get out of it what you desire. So if you're a sports fanatic, you might have an at-home gym. If you love to cook, you probably have an amazingly equipped kitchen. And if you're really into gaming and you love movies, you might have an at-home cinema. So putting that into database terms, the idea here is all about real-time opportunities that allow you to have live insights. So data is most valuable when used, especially in real time. So the key consideration here is speed related. And that also then implies that if you have a system that can keep up with you, allows you real-time processing and analytics, you can sort of in a way tackle your problems in real time and also take action in real time then. So your database needs to be able to consume terabytes of data and also must be able to allow for continuous flow, for continuous ingestion and extraction of information. So consider that you've chosen a product that offers you real-time access also to single records immediately after they've been written and allows you to deliver millisecond speed query performance is a great asset to have also for those real-time insights that you'd like to have. So choosing well with respect to query speed and real-time availability allows you to get real-time insights, and this also means you can optimally use your resources. So it allows you to in real time get information on how your production lines are doing. This allows you to take immediate action in case stuff goes wrong, so ultimately improving the quality of your products, also reducing cost, reducing waste, and also basically empowering your staff to get real-time insights and take real-time data-driven action. We're moving on to the next consideration, which is about the first impression. So if you think you're buying a house, you probably view the place. So you walk in there and then you love the open sun-flooded living room, you're in love with the backyard, and basically the more tangible your first impression is, the easier it is to properly examine what you're potentially getting yourself into. So you see, are you walking on real wood floor? Do the door handles crack when you open them? Do the bathrooms smell moldy? So all of this allows you to get a really good feel for what you're getting yourself into. And basically, if we're translating this into database terms again, having the option to choose to do a demo, to plug and play, and start small and then scale big is a really, really important way, an easy way to help you fine-tune your decision and make an even better informed choice. So if you can get started easily, how is that? What does that tell you about the user phase? You have the option to just explore. Maybe you also already have the opportunity to navigate in the system. You see how intuitively that works, and basically that gives you an idea, like I said, about the interface, how much you need to do before you can even get started. Is it majorly time consuming, or can you just set up a few things, do a few small configurations, and it's already up and running? So this also gives you an idea on the additional investments you need before you can deploy that system. And also having the option to test the software without major time and money efforts is like walking through your house that you're intending to buy. So it offers you this immediate impression of the user interface, and maybe you've already also had the first interactions with a customer support agent or a solution engineer that gives you an option of who you'll be working with in the future. How does it feel to have them as your trusted partners? How's the customer support? And like I said, the plug and play option is super crucial for you to understand how this product works and how easy it is to navigate it. And it also is a brief check for the compatibility with your entire system that you already have in place. So important here is to remember, consider the barriers to get started, and the more of a tangible first impression you get, the more you already know what to expect from it. And it's also the option for you to immediately do something, immediately get started, and immediately also see results on what opportunities this new database might hold for you. And we're already at consideration number 4. So I'm sure many of us have locked ourselves out of the house before, or we're sometimes worried that someone might sneak in through the back door, or that we have a bit of a strange gut feeling when we're leaving the house behind to go on like a long summer vacation, for example. So I also know that many people take action for that, double checking if they've locked all doors and windows. Some people have these timed lights to give the illusion that the house isn't unoccupied for long periods of time. And many of us probably also have a friend or a family member who holds an emergency key, excuse me, in case we lock ourselves out. And putting that into database terms, you can consider the high availability and the security of your data is very important, both on the go, but also in case there are any issues. So to make sure your system is highly available, you need to make sure that your database provides automatic replication of the data across clusters. So you can think of this as the unlosable key that always makes sure you can access your data no matter what's happening, also during issues. And another important part here is the consideration on what's going to happen in case there's hardware failures or scheduled maintenance. Does that compromise the collection or utilization of your data? So at CrateDB, for example, we ensure a highly available system through automatic data replication across clusters, but also through rolling software updates. So, like I said here, it's important to consider how highly available your data is and also how much effort it takes to make sure your database is highly available and that your database is also clean and tidy. So this means when you make your choice, consider how, for example, database clusters are self-healing when new nodes are added, or if there's other experts needed to take care of such kind of stuff. We're moving on to point number 5, which is about how to furnish your place. So the furniture is what gives your house the purpose. So you have a proper bed for a good night's sleep, and you have a shower in your bathroom, all that kind of stuff. So that's also crucial for the purpose and the functionality of your house again. And in terms of the database, I'm talking about the openness and the compatibility. So it's a consideration to see how open the system is and how easily it integrates and connects with other tools and systems, because the more compatible it is and the easier and the lower amount of resources you need, the more opportunities you can explore and you can go crazy with what you can do with your data. So, for example, it's very important to consider the connectability and compatibility of your chosen database with other systems. So this includes the interface, API, all such kind of stuff. And again, here at CreateDB, just to give you a small example, it's possible to connect it to different visualization tools, for example, Grafana, to visualize your time series over time, but also other tools like Power BI or other custom-made solutions. And this already brings me to the next point here of CreateDB and talking about compatibility as a whole. With CreateDB, you can create your own plugins. So if you have a very specific use case, or you'd like to automate certain things, you can simply write a plugin for data ingestion, data handling, whatever, and that allows you the option to work really smart and really efficient, targeted to your needs. And we've already arrived at the last consideration, which is about how to move in. So basically, if you think about, your favorite hardwood dining table where you had like super nice evenings with your friends, you had amazing meals there, you probably give that table a new place of honor in your new apartment if you're moving houses. And if we put this idea into database terms, this basically means all familiarity. So if you this consideration refers to the query and programming languages that your new data house requires you to know, and also the types of data it can handle. So if your team is already familiar with a certain system, certain programming languages, certain types of data, it's important also to consider how this new database benefits the skills or matches with the skills of your team. So if you have something that your team is highly familiar with, it means the benefits can simply be added and they sprinkle across your entire organization, because there's very little retraining costs, and it's also super easy for your team to get started without training you and to make to not have any additional investments, and you simply get started right away. This also allows your team to use the efforts, and not only like the entire team, but not only a few chosen ones, if you choose a system that many people are already familiar with. So in CreateDB, for example, you have the familiarity and the convenience of SQL, but also the flexibility of NoSQL. So this is also very important to compare what you have at the moment, but also what kind of skills you can match with sort of your future database. Additionally, it's also crucial to consider what options your new database offers you in terms of data types. So if you think of CreateDB, CreateDB supports relational data, but also nested JSON docs. So with blob storage, you can store and retrieve all sorts of data like pictures, images, and other large unstructured files. And the bottom line with this is that the familiarity, both in terms of skills of your people, but also a large range of possible data types that your database can handle, makes sure that you can optimally invest in your new database. And this is already the last point that I'd like to give you with. So this was super quick, and we're already at the Q&A session, for which Caroline is going to join us again.
Thank you, Nina, and thank you for taking us through that. I can see that there are some questions coming in, so I'll just jump to the first one. What is the core issue that Crate.io is addressing, and what sets it apart from other players within this market?
All right, so the Crate product, so CrateDB, CrateDB Cloud, and the Crate IoT data platform allow the users to collect, analyze, and store data as needed, both locally but also on the cloud, for smart factories and smart applications. So, like I said before, a big advantage of CrateDB is that there's the high familiarity and convenience of SQL combined with the scalability and the flexibility of NoSQL. So this allows to handling large amounts of unstructured and structured data in real time, but it also allows for unlimited scaling aligned with the growth of your manufacturing plant. So that's one of the big advantages here at CrateDB, that, like I said, SQL familiarity, but NoSQL, and then the option for scalability as a result from that, and also the real-time insights that you can derive through having CrateDB part of your infrastructure.
Great, thank you. So the other question that I've got here is, what industry or sector is Crate.io most targeting or most leveraged by?
My one-word answer would be smart manufacturing. It's actually 2 words. But so it's all things production related. When you have a production line, you have a lot of sensors. That's where CrateDB kicks in. And so based from some industry projects that we've done before, we've also designed and set up the Crate IoT data platform, which is an integrated solution for the production companies who are handling massive amounts of data. So CrateDB is often used in discrete manufacturing, where CrateDB provides the solutions for, like I said, data management, data enrichment, but it's also sort of connectable to other AI options. You can create dashboards. There's the option for control terminals for your entire production, but also depending on how you set it up, then you have the option, for example, to have a notification system that if there's an automatically detected problem on one of the production lines, you get a ping on your mobile phone or whatever, that again allows you to take real-time action on the shop floor that's based on data, which makes it super efficient for when you're having an issue, to save your costs, to save waste, to increase the quality of your output products. So basically that's sort of the overall idea. So smart data-driven manufacturing.
Okay, great. Okay, so there's one more, which has just come in now. I'll just read that out to you. What are a few of the most common challenges your customers are approaching you with? And then there's another part. And are they replacing competitive solutions or more legacy ones?
1 second. Yeah, so in both cases, CrateDB and CrateDB Cloud and Crate IoT are often replacing legacy systems that were built and run by the companies themselves. So that comes with a lot of time and effort to set up such kind of stuff, complex support and updates, but also maintenance structure. So basically the data ingestion capabilities of legacy system and competitive solutions aren't comparable to CrateDB. So customers often use CrateDB to store and query machine data, and that's because CrateDB makes it super easy and also economical to handle the velocity and the volume, but also the big, large diversity of machine and log data. So back from our customers, we also got the feedback that through CrateDB, they've ingested millions of data points per second, and they were also querying data in real time, 20 times faster than their previous database, but only with 25% of the hardware that they've used before. So that's sort of where CrateDB offers advantages compared to other solutions.
Great, thank you, Nina.
Are there any more questions?
No, that is all the questions that we have. So I think we can close the session a bit earlier if you're okay with that.
Yeah, that sounds good. I've got a bit more stuff coming up, so I'm going to continue with an outlook because we already have another webinar coming up next week. On the 31st of July, we will host a webinar on Industry 4.0 and how to leverage machine data for business success. And I'd also like to stress again that we also have a lot of resources on demand. So recently I held a webinar on machine learning and time series, which you find on our website. There's a section with a lot of different resources, so you can have a look through what's interesting to you. We have white papers, we have some more webinars, we have other videos. So basically give that a look. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. And if you're interested, sign up for a demo either through the chat function here on GoToWebinar, or you send an email at sales@crate.io. And with that, I wish you all a great day and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.